This is 24 Lives Per Second with a review of Zero Dark 30. Now, Zero Dark 30 is a film about the... I was going to say assassination. Is that right? About the killing of Osama bin Laden and the stuff that happened beforehand, the tracking and the finding, the hunting and the killing. It's made by Kathryn Bigelow, who made the awesome Hurt Locker film and Point Break. Love Point Break. So, Russ, you've been to see this one. Is there anything in this film? Should I go and watch this film because I've already seen a really good documentary on telly about the hunt for bin Laden? What does this add to that?
That's a very good question. Your first line kind of got it right when you said it's about all the stuff. This film, film is all about the stuff. You know, that is what that is its focus. It's all about the day-to-day, and you know, when we're talking about an operation that went over 12 years, which is easy to forget, you know, that day-to-day work was intensive and massive. You know, the amount of effort and work that went into this, and obviously, I mean, and this film is driven forward by Jessica Chastain's lead character called Maya, who is someone that you know, you learn through the course of the film this is what she's done. She started work for the CIA 2001 when September 11 happened, and she followed it through, and this is what she's done for her entire career. It's been the hunt for Osama bin Laden, and it's her kind of passion and you know, and drive for it that really kind of pulls the narrative forward for that. Interesting, and talking about, you know, you've seen a documentary, do you need to see the film? That's possible. I don't really know about that. I mean, you know, the film is very much a procedural. You know, I think I spoke to you guys about it the other day, and it's very much, you know, like an episode of The Wire. You know, in terms of the, I mean, more like watching a series of The Wire in kind of one go. Really, you know, it's all about the wiretapping and the following the paper trail and you know, looking back over hundreds of videos of interrogations to find one name that someone said that might link you to something else that can then. You know, it's not a case of they did all this and then someone stumbled across a picture of a compound in Pakistan that might have someone in it they need to go and check out. You know, it's all, especially from Maya's point of view, it's you know, there's a great scene where they're having the kind of the final meeting in the boardroom with the head of the CIA, saying, you know, what are the chances that he's there, you know, in this compound. They're saying, well, you know, at best kind of, you know, 50-60%, and she's like, it's 100%. She said, I know you guys aren't big on definites, but it's 100% that he's there, and it's that kind of will that kind of, you know, driving it forward. Kind of another thing that is, you know, I think you can liken it to is David Fincher's Zodiac, in that it does in that it does focus on that level of obsession that she has.
The forensic,
exactly that level of detail. And yes, it does also touch on the whole torture and everything. I mean, in my opinion, in a very, you know, not tasteful is the wrong word, but the whole film, I think the key word for it is real. You know, and she's gone for that realism, that documentary style, where you could be watching something that's telling you, you know, the exact truth about what happened and everything like that. And the torture as a means to an end, you know, comes across as exactly that. You know, did they get results from doing that? Yes, they did. Therefore, it justifies it in this context. Whether it justifies it, you know, in the entire context, and obviously whether you believe that the final goal of killing the man should have been a goal in the first place, you know, is kind of where the debate falls. But obviously the end of Zodiac is not a particularly positive outcoming, and that's where the two films differ. But I think, you know, if you're fans of that kind of, you know, really serious police procedural narrative, then you're really going to enjoy it. It certainly isn't a film where you can sit back and let it wash over you. You're not going to walk into the cinema and go, oh yeah, 2.5 hours of lovely enjoyment, and I can just sit back and just not really focus on it. It's possibly one of the most intense 2.5 hours I've had in the cinema in the last year, because if you're not focusing on it and you're not keeping up with it, you're gone and you're lost. There's so many names being thrown about and so many people to talk about, and so much kind of, you know, that language as well that they've used, you know, the operational language and the militaristic language as well, that you kind of, you know, there's no explanation for it. You need to be just getting straight in there and getting on with it, otherwise you're going to be lost. It does shift gear in the final kind of 40 minutes when they do go into that, you know, following the actual operation to go into the compound. But what it does very well to its kind of credit is it never becomes the Expendables 3. It's never a group of, you know, SEALs or whatever going into a compound, shooting guns and blowing people up and bodies flying everywhere. It's actually a really interesting seemingly again realistic view of how that operation would have gone down. It's almost silent for 45 minutes. It's very quiet. There's minimal language. It's all hand signals. It's all night vision cameras. And when people are shot, they're shot once or twice and they're down. There's no kind of machine guns kicking indoors and things like that. And that was a really good way of doing it, and the right way of doing it, because I think it would have been easy to show a lack of respect, in terms of, because there were people killed, that weren't necessarily the targets they were going for, and so it does it in a very good way, and I think it's the realism that comes in with the whole film that sets it apart. I think it very easily could have turned into a made-for-TV movie. The hunt for Osama bin Laden, let's go get him, and kind of gung-ho this and kind of all that, but it never becomes that. And it ends up being a film that, although you shouldn't really probably want to watch it again because it's not that type of film, you would actually enjoy watching it again, because now that you know the story, you might be able to sit back a bit and maybe appreciate it from more of a cinematic point of view. But yeah, I would thoroughly recommend it. I've heard a lot of stuff over the last few weeks and months about it, being obviously up for Best Picture with the Oscars. I'm not quite sure if it's there for me in terms of being a Best Picture winner. I'd be very surprised if it pulled that out. But it's certainly worthy of being up there and being recognised as a really great bit of filmmaking, and telling a really good story.
Okay, solid recommendation.
Yep,
brilliant.